proposed resolution is? Okay, I'll make sure you have a copy of it.
I'd like to review it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of language in there with regards to some federal laws in terms of, and how that versus civil liberties and the various protections that were afforded into the Constitution. And I would like to hear the conversation on it.
It's very hard to keep up with it, especially with the local press not covering it.
Carol, let me just say for the record, just say your name for the record and address.
Carol Tucker, 26 Southwest Florida.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, sir. Anyone else from my left? Well, let me just, gentlemen, neither one of the gentlemen? Yes, ma'am?
Yes.
I'm sure. Gentlemen?
You want to say something?
Neither one of the
Go
gentlemen?
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
All right, we'll keep on going. Yes, ma'am.
yes, good evening. My name is Dee Perry, and I live at 26 Sylvester Avenue, Trenton, New Jersey.
Ms. Perry, speak up for the record.
Yes, my name is, they call me Queen Bee, but you all call me Dee Perry, and I live at 26 Sylvester Avenue, Trenton, New Jersey. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the housing department for the Christmas fund of cleaning up the neighborhood where I live in the area that several streets that I live around. And also, thank goodness that the graffiti has been removed from the designated area. I haven't been over to the freeway yet, the underpass. I think they're still working on that. But we appreciate this, because this way, these gangsters will not have an opportunity to do whatever they so well please by those signs. And also, we want to just consider, and I hope you all will consider this, because I've looked over a few documents. I appreciate the opportunity of being here, the way the council has presented the basis for the police and everything. I'm sitting there and glad that I like to, hopefully, somebody will consider even the 8-hour shift. But anyhow, that's besides the point. This is my only personal opinion. That's going back to the 40s and the 50s, but we're in modern times now, so I can understand that. But also, I would like to see reconsideration. When I was speaking here last Tuesday, as a matter of fact, about this here 30 to 40-year plan, which is good. But the thing about it, just like I was saying about the line items of how we're spending money, this is quite a bit of money that's being spent for this Broad Street program. And we want to make sure that every dollar, and who is going to monitor, I would volunteer to sit in on this here myself, with the experiences that I've had through my years of service on the federal level. I want to know where, I'm holding on to my purse. I got a chain around my waist sometimes I wear. But I tell you, I would like to see how every dollar is going to be spent, and what we need to have a monthly, or either bi-weekly or monthly approach to this. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars. And a lot of this, what if the program is successful in 32 years or whatever? But we can just reconsider. I mean, have a little chit-chat or whatever, and see what we can do. Because the possibility could be some rollbacks, and then I can have some money really jiggling out of my pocket and partying with my man. Friends. I'm just going to tell you like it is. I love the beach, and I'm also a swimmer of the ocean. I'm the Polar Bear Club member. So you all are welcome to come and join us when we go in for a swim. But hey, I like to...
You're on tape and you're being videoed.
Oh, that's all right. I'm really firm.
Yes.
You know, I like to see every dollar spent accordingly. We must not just have someone come out of the blue. These fly-by-night developers, and I've dealt with I've dealt with 250 in my lifetime working for the Federal Service. And believe me, I have caught so many of them, it's wonder that I'm not biting the dust. Because there's little questions, there's the little things that count. And being an honoree with a gold seal, believe me, I feel very happy to serve the nation. And I intend to continue to serve the nation on the level, the national level. And anytime you all are welcome, and I've received many calls from many of my council people here, and I seem to appreciate it. You can call me any hour of the day, the second or the night or whatever. I am willing to stop what I'm doing to come in and sit on conversations that affect us as proud to be. I'm a Pennsylvania. I was born in Pennsylvania, but I lived in Jersey most of my life, and I'm proud to stand up and be a part of everything. And I think everybody needs to get in on this. Everybody needs to take a stand. and get out here and show what we can do. We can really set a precedent for everybody to follow. And this being a capital city, hey, we can do it. Thank you very much for your attention, and my phone is always available for your phone. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Anybody from my media, right? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Paul Harris, 137 Center Street. I wanted to first say, whether you like me or not, I've done 15, 20 of these meetings, and if I encourage you, please, just for your own personal edification, you should really review yourself on tape. All of you, because all of these discussions we've had have come up over and over again, and for some reason they're sidelined or put on the pillow, and then people bring it back up, and people get mad when they could have been addressed months ago. This cop issue was the same questions are posed over and over again, and I encourage you, regardless of your political affiliation, what your goal is in 2010 is that I have all these tapes available. I encourage you to look at them because there are more issues at stake here than folks would like to admit. And look at it like a mirror. That's the first thing I want to say. It's just fascinating to sit here and hear people talk and to see how people evolve. And people forget what they said 6 months ago. And, forget that they promised A, B, C, and D, or that they would allow for discussion, and then when it's brought back up, then they forget. You got to remember that. The first thing I wanted to say is, second thing is, the cops is an important issue. I'm 25 years old, and I won't leave the house either. I leave the house to walk the dog, and I'm a day person in the city of Trenton. I will remain a day person as long as there are deviants running in these streets doing what they want in broad daylight and at night, plain and simple. I know if I'm 25 and fit and intelligent and I'm in the house, I know everyone else must be, the elders and everyone else. There's no way to live. It's the same reason why most of the third world is in its state, because without security guarantees, you're not going to get investments. There's no reason to invest in because there's no security. My investment needs to be secure, and that's important. The other thing I wanted to ask again, which I brought up 5 months ago, is we need to have a discussion on immigration. George Bush isn't going to do it. Hillary Clinton, when she wins, she's not going to do it. So on the local level, with our governor, we need to have a discussion, conversation party or a panel, whatever, and really discuss it, because a lot of people are doing a lot of things wrong in this state, and they happen to be illegal. And I'm wondering if and it's a fact. And a lot of people, they may not say it publicly, but they have strong opinions on immigration. They have strong opinions, and as we should be able to, we should create a forum so they can express this anger, this frustration, this drainage of the system by and that's plain and simple. The law is the law. The law is supreme. There's God, and then there's the law, and the law is not being followed by our own elected leaders, not only by the people, and then we're just going on as if it's nothing. We need to have this discussion, and we need to not be beholden to certain groups or associations that won't give us money or won't vote for us, or going to get mad and snap their teeth because we want to talk about, the law. The law is the law. That's important. I don't care how many people live in South Trenton or in this Trenton that belong to a certain ethnic group. The law is the law, and if it's not being followed, then we need to jump on that. Plain and simple. That's it. The other thing I wanted to bring up was this fire and electrical thing. I'm concerned about this. I live in a house and right next to someone. I leave my house. I make sure candles are out. I make sure things are put in place. Most people do, because you want to go back to your house and it not be burned up. I think that what we need to do, and we need to do it fast, is to make sure that folks are not stealing electricity. I had one in my house who was doing the very thing. They're gone now, but I can only do my part as a renter with regards to securing my home. But I can't look at my neighbors. I don't know what they're doing. And 30 families are out, and we all are aware that half this country, if not 75% of this country, does not have 6 months to a year worth of salary put away. So folks, people don't have that kind of savings. 2 months worth of savings away, with their job salary away. My concern is that public service and the city need to make this an effort by let's say by June of next year, that they're going to dedicate whatever money they can to addressing this issue, to making sure that folks are not stealing electricity. And if that means that we're going to redirect money from lighting the streets, I'd rather have a completely dark city if that means everyone has a home that's not going to be burned to the ground. And my other question is, this fellow who did this, is he illegal? Now, you may not like to hear that, but look, I mean, is he an illegal alien? And that's a valid concern. Because, I mean, it's another issue. And then these Pensy tags, all of these are linked, folks. I'm pro. You know, we all came here on a boat, plain and simple. Some free, some not. That's a fact. But there's a trend in this state, ladies and gentlemen. There's a trend in this state with deviant elements happening, major things happening, and we can't push this under the rug. We can't. And it doesn't mean we're xenophobic. It doesn't mean we're racist. That's a word. Those are words that we use all the time. Cards that are irrelevant. We need to have this discussion about immigration, and we need to protect residents of Trenton, tax-paying citizens, law-abiding citizens, from whether it be black, white, or anyone, from stealing electricity. Because I'm worried I'm going to go home and my house is going to be burned down. And I can tell you what, I'm one person who does not have a year's worth of salary saved. And I'd hate to be on the street. And we need to address it because it's going to come back around, because those are social services that we're going to have to pay for, address. 30 families, that's going to be taxing someone. That's going to come out from someone's budget. So it's incumbent upon us to address those issues, folks. And the other thing I want to say is I still don't see a representative here from the department. This is something I asked 3 weeks ago. It was something I asked 6 months ago. And I'll ask it again, and I'll review the tapes again. It's important for us to have a captain, someone at a senior level here. Security is a major issue in this city, and it will be for the next 20 years. There should be someone in one of these chairs. I shouldn't have to ask every day. I mean, this is council. They serve at our pleasure. They should be here. It's a matter of calling and saying, Santiago, you need to do it. That's it. I don't understand why we have directors of other non-essential departments here who never say anything, but we don't have the police department here. I'm not. I mean, some people. I'm not doubting them, but But you know what I mean? There are people who come here and don't say nothing. That's all I want to say. Again, I thank you guys for your work. I thank you guys for coming here and continuing to fight and continuing to be our punching bags. Nothing against anyone in here, but like I said, we got to get focused, folks. People are scared in this city. I thought about registering for a gun. You know that? I went online and did the research. We had a conversation. They probably won't give me one. Not with my record here. No.
That's your own.
They would have a reason to keep me out of here now. Yeah, right. But that's all I want to say. I hope people take it in consideration. Like I said, you want the tapes? I'll give them to you for free. Please review them. Some people got some issues in this room, some major issues. Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. Harris, I certainly appreciate your candor and respect your opinion.
Thank you.
You have a right to it. But I'd like to ask, if I may, that when you refer to immigrants,
Yes, ma'am.
if you would consider undocumented as opposed to illegal, I think that at one point we were also illegal. And we want to be careful. I just believe, this is my opinion, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
that it is inappropriate to refer to any human being as illegal. There are many undocumented immigrants, and we certainly have to deal with that issue.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
We've had that discussion, but I would just ask that illegal not be what you bring to this council.
Yes, ma'am.
But that we take a look at undocumented immigrants, the impact on our city,
Yes.
and what we need to do. Now, in all fairness, I need to say that, most often in urban cities, Mr. President, there are many people very much like yourself coming to council and demanding that the local elected officials do something. Well, there are many officials who have tried to do some things, whether they be good or bad, and you see what happens.
Yeah, I see.
The court shot them down.
Right in the face.
We need to hold the people accountable who are capable of making decisions as it relates to a process. But undocumented immigration is certainly a big issue for this country. And whether we agree or disagree, we have to remember that we all came here on a boat. It's the Indians who own this land.
Yes.
For those of us who have forgotten.
They don't own no more, but.
And so we'd just like to ask that as we move forward, there's a study that you might want to review that was, I believe, it may have been commissioned or not. I'm not sure. No, it wasn't. But there's a good immigration study that you might want to take a look at. It's online, and if you will call Linda tomorrow, I'll see that you get that information, because there has been a study and there has been an impact I think the bigger impact is the violation of undocumented immigrants' rights as it relates to the abuse, the underpayment of real wages. They're creating, America is creating an underclass that nobody's going to understand in 10 years, how it happened. Those are issues that we have to deal with. The impact on our infrastructure, all of it. But I'd like to do it responsibly, and I'd like to do it with some respect as it relates to people. All right? And just as some people have immigrated here from other places, I want the same opportunity for every immigrant who comes through the process. And that is a real opportunity to be here in the land of the free and the brave. Okay? But the reality of it is that there must be a process. And that process has been humped over, and you're right. There's a lot of threats. There's a lot of marches. There's a lot of disagreement. But as long as we're disagreeable, we're not going to accomplish anything. So undocumented immigration is an issue that has to be dealt with. That study is a good study. I was a part of that team with the state. Take a look at it. Okay? And then we can move forward from there, because she makes a valid point. Mr. President, in the future, would you please ask the police officers present in this meeting to take information as they usually are on Thursday for residents who have concerns? That is, in fact, a valid issue, and it's not just Mr. Harris's issue. It's one of mine as well.
Yes, ma'am, with regard to...
What did I say about the Purple Horse in the park?
You said something about the Purple Horse should have an officer here or someone from the police department.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Respond.
Thank you.
I try to juggle things sometimes. I'm not that good at it, but I'm not that bad.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that.
If anyone else can do it. Yes, sir. You state your name and address for the record.
Nicholas Stewart, 679 Lamberton Street. Speaking first as the Vice President of South Trenton Area Resident Society, I'd like to congratulate Cadwallader Heights Society, the residents of Cadwallader Heights, on an amazing tour, especially Director Frisbee's house.
You like that blue, Nicholas?
What's that?
That blue?
Yeah.
You like that?
No, but what I actually did like was his mantle in his dining room.
Okay.
That he painted himself.
Yeah, can't believe it.
All right. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is just Nicholas Stewart, affiliated with no one, it's the, what is it? Okay, 5NR, resolution approving transfer of retail consumption license, etc., from the previous proprietor of Dory's to the new proprietor of Dory's. Now, this was something that was on docket 2-3 weeks ago, and it was asked for a roll call and kind of a review because it's under new management. And believe me, it is under new management. Right? And I would appreciate maybe having them come in and explain to you what they are planning to do in that establishment, as well as present to whatever citizens may show up what they're going to do in the establishment. I think they need to have the same discussion you had with several other people that have liquor licenses, whether it is a bar or a packaged facility. These people have a license, and you have to inform them of how to act with that. They may not know everything, and maybe it would be a proactive step to kind of really get a head start in case that this is just another troublesome establishment in South Trenton. I have noticed since they opened their doors a certain amount of decreased traffic from the area of Lamberton Street closest to Bridge to Lamberton Liquors, and I appreciate that very much, but I know that the residents down on Federal Street are now dealing with the same situation that Lamberton Liquors provided. It was just a hangout. People are outside. They're smoking their cigarettes outside, but they're doing other things too. They're rolling dice. They're distributing narcotics. They are...
This is the intersection with the bar and cookies?
Federal and Lamberton Street. All right, so the ABC, I think, is going to get a call from Sergeant Joseph Rivera. That's what Sergeant Rivera told me last night to review this facility, as well as I would appreciate the council inviting the new proprietors into your chambers and just having a general review of how to operate a facility such as the one they're trying to. Second, or I should say third now, it's just when we're talking about police staffing, whether it's a budget constraint or just a simple there's not enough information being distributed yet, I'd like to just remind everybody of the amount of discussion that is made for a number of pilots, tax statements, spending, new awnings in the fire department. You know, I want those guys to be able to spend just as much as anybody else, but I want the same amount of discussion that it's taking for you to make a decision on whether or not to hire more police officers for a lot of these other issues too, because if it's a budget problem, I would suspect that the lack of revenue generated from the number of pilots that are issued might have something to do with the fact that we can't afford to hire more police officers. And as long as we're still in contract negotiations with the police officers, I think it would be a shame if we kind of accepted a schedule from their unions that even if we hired more officers, that doesn't mean we're going to have more officers on the streets. That's another consideration to be made. Because I feel a severe, there just aren't enough cops. I mean, I constantly hear from my community liaison officer, well, you know, we're handling this call, we're going to this call, and it's not a 100, 300 thing, you know. There are people waiting in this city. I'm one of them, because I've made several attempts to take care of problem residents on my street, but, you know, we can't do enough about it. There aren't enough cops to watch them. They're openly committing illegal acts on my street that I'm reporting, and nothing's being done. So, I mean, we're still waiting. And I would appreciate it as a citizen of Trenton that we move quickly, that we got those numbers in as soon as we can, crunch them, find out what the problem is, and make a decision fast. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of council. My councilman, the Honorable Gino Malone. My name is Dion Clark. I live in the East Ward of Williamstown. First of all, Mr. President, I wish Councilman Segura had stayed. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Gino Malone for addressing the issue on the Pennsylvania license plates. I happened to have been one of the people there last week when that incident happened over at the Wild place I go every morning to get my coffee. When whatever hit the lady and was going to take off PA tags, unlicensed, and one of my brothers from Mexico. Okay? I do believe they are illegal. Because you know why? I couldn't go down to Mexico or the south of the border and do what they do there. If I went down there, couldn't speak the language, I'm out. If I stood up in the street and protest and march and parade, I would be locked up and taken out in the jungle and never heard or see of again. So yes, it's a serious problem. They come here and do anything they want to. They have a bad habit every time you talk to them, especially me being a black man from the ghetto. The first thing they say, well, we work. What do you think a lot of us have done? What is a lot of us have done? Me work. So did I. So have I worked for everything I've gotten. So to play off on those things, like I said, I'm going to go right back to that same point. I couldn't go to their country and do what they do here. And it's unfair to us who's born and bred here. So we can play with that all we want. And the thing that gets me about them, this country is so bad, this and that, as long as they can reap the benefit, and then all of them will tell you, I'm sending my money back home. I'm sending my money back home. Well, you need to go home and stay home. I love America. This is where I'm going to stay at. There ain't nothing down there for me. I don't want to go there. Because there's nothing there for me. That's their way of life. This is my way of life. But once again, I'd like to thank Gino Malone for dealing with that. He is right on the money. That Mr. President and Mr. Segura has some opposition there about that. The man is right on the money. Right on, Mr. Malone. Now, on to my issue, about these landlords.
Mr. Clark, let me just finish. I said that I was opposed to that.
Well, you made some...
That's your question. Did I?
No,
say that I'm opposed to that?
well, you can play with the words.
I'm not playing with the words.
Yes, you are. Now, I'm gonna tell you what you said. You had some reservations. You beautiful with words. You had some reservation towards that topic. So let me use it to you like that. That's what you said. You had reservation. Like many other issues that's brought before council, you got reservation, which is your right. But Mr. Malone was the one who took it head on for the truth of what it is. It's a serious problem. And we couldn't go to their country and do what they do here. Whether it's political, for votes, whatever, we couldn't go in their country and do what they do here. And I never had a white man to call me out my name, but I've had them to call me a nigga. Now, I'm talking for real, like I always talk to you. Now, on to my issue about the slum landlords. Down there on Stokely is something I've been talking about for the longest. It really would have been a tragedy if somebody would have lost their life. But this illegal hookup is on the record. How many times have I came before you, Mr. President, in this council and told you about the things going on Walnut Avenue? There's 2 properties right now that they hot-wired the electric boxes over there on Walnut Avenue because it's affecting our electricity. Lights go on and all. It's crazy. And they show no shame. Mr. Pucciati was supposed to have just took somebody to court about it. I haven't heard no more about it. 317. Last year, this time, I brought that same property before you guys about the roaches and the field mouse. Don't you know they have destroyed that house? They out again. That's why Councilwoman T, what you said is right on the money. A rental advisory. Let the neighbors, the pillars of the community, have some say-so in who moves into those rental properties. Because we don't have any quality of life on Walnut Avenue. They have destroyed it. That's why I'm leaving the city. You heard me say that the last 2 or 3 council meetings. I'm leaving it. It's no quality of life. And a whole lot of other people are leaving, but might want to leave, but they can't leave like me. I don't have nothing to keep me back here as far as a property and all that, but I got to go because it's no prosperity, it's no hope for me. And I'm going to stay there on Walnut Avenue and end up getting in trouble, and I think that's part of that hidden hand that wants me to do something, get into an altercation, get to fighting the police, and then I'm right out there with it. If you leave me out there long enough, something bad's going to happen. So I see what's getting ready to happen. I'm leaving. It needs to be dealt with. 317 Store O'Donnell, he owns that. The other problem house down the corner, he owns that. So what he did, he moved them all out of 317 Walnut Avenue, and they all down at 371 living. Councilwoman Satan, I need your help. That's what he did. He moved them all out of 317 Walnut Avenue, and now they down the street living in 371 Walnut Avenue. And across the street at 302 Walnut Avenue, he moved them out of that house and moved them on 312 Walnut Avenue, the house right behind my parents. So it's just a vicious cycle, and we're caught in the middle of it. And then we don't have any quality of life. But I'm going to get me some quality of life. Councilman, Mr. President, I want to speak about this, another tragedy getting ready to happen. I see out on Chambers Street, right before you get to Liberty, they're getting ready to open another check cashing place, Dave's Check Cashing. Dave took a house and knocked the wall out, getting ready to put a front and everything. That's nothing but a problem. I'd like to know who gave him the okay to do something like that. We got enough problems over there in the East Ward. It's just another place to hang out all the undesirables, robbing people, passing phony checks. It's just a vicious cycle.
What's the name of the place you call?
Dave's Checking. It's a new place right there. It ain't even open. They even tore the wall and all that out of the front of the house. He get ready to do his thing like Eddie Douglas did for 30 years. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Paul Harris Jr. for the courage of what he wrote in the paper. Not because it dealt with me, but it dealt with a greater issue than me. Because they talk about snitching, but it seems like the police are snitching, or the Department of Inspections is snitching. Somebody doing something they ain't got no business, and I'm trying to do the right thing. So why would you tell on somebody like me trying to do the right thing? That's why a lot of people don't even want to get involved in the process. One last thing, back to inspections. They are understaffed. They need more people. The gentleman who done all this, is he an illegal immigrant? Can I get an answer?
I don't know that, Mr. Clark, do you know?
No, that's what I'm asking you. I thought you...
No, I don't know what the gentleman is legal.
Do anybody in this room know?
That's not
There's an
information that
investigation
had been
taking place
provided
right
to
now,
council.
and information has been...
Okay, something else that bothers me, like I said about my parents, they do have property insurance. So say somebody else set the fire, mom and dad burnt out, their insurance company gonna stick it to them, because they ain't got to honor it. Them people don't care. If I'm controlling all the money, it's up to me to want to pay you when I want to pay you. They might not pay you. And then if they do pay mom and dad, they ain't getting no more house insurance. Then what? And a lot of those people down there on Stokely probably didn't even have house insurance. Let's be for real. Because we know in neighborhoods, high risk, what the man calls them, high risk. It's hard to get insurance, and especially be able to afford it. That's why I have a problem with this new housing thing. You can get me into a new house, but I can't afford to maintain the house on a fixed income. I'm going to put you in a new house. Yeah, I can pay the mortgage, but if something goes wrong in the house, I don't have no money. So it's just a shame, man. It's a shame. And this city is going down and down. And as filthy as the streets is and all that, the crime, and Walnut Avenue is just getting worse and worse. I believe it's part of that eminent domain. See, people keep missing that. That's all. It's part of a plan. Say, we'll force everybody out of here, and then we'll come in and do our thing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add Mr. Moore, yes, sir.
Just touch base, Mr. Quintella. Jane, last week I had mentioned again that no one still has contacted Dion, Mr. Clark, as far as the investigation, and earlier today we spoke again just to verify if anyone has spoken to him as of yet, and a week later still no one has reached out to him. I guess this would be the fourth request now for someone to please reach out to him. You know, he has a right to information that he's requesting, especially that we have recommended and requested that he file an investigation, a request for
Does
investigation.
he have a case number with internal affairs?
He, and you know, you can ask Mr. Clark after the meeting, but to my understanding, he has nothing because no one's reached out to him. And when he calls, no one gets back to him.
He filed the complaint,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
I'll written.
Internal affairs, yes.
Okay. I'll have an answer, please.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Best Counsel? We know there's a motion to close public comment. Second. City Manager, Mr. Long, yes, sir.
I have nothing, Mr. President. Just one thing, I'm sorry. I do want to commend, and I know Mr. Pucciatti has left. I noticed that a lot of curbs are being replaced throughout the city. I know curbs were put on hold for a long period of time, but I noticed that a lot of curbs throughout the city are being replaced and repaired at this time. So I do want to commend them on that, besides the curb cuts.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, ma'am?
No, thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Carson, yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Taylor? Nothing to do about it. Ms. Peyton?
First, just a couple items. One, find out from the administration if in fact a feasibility study was conducted to find out about camera installation on Sylvester. And those illegal buses that are covered by camera speed test. And I wanted to thank Eric Jackson for his quick action today. There's construction going on Clinton Avenue, Clinton and Lincoln Avenue, and you can't turn by the police station to go like over the street bridge or whatever. So there's detour signs for people who travel to East State Street to come around. But unfortunately, for folks who don't know Trenton, they're using this little short piece of Monmouth Street, which is next to Grant School, and making a right. And I almost had a head-on accident. This car came down this street today. It was like incredible. And then you just kept seeing a lot of cars doing that. And then I realized, I looked for the one-way sign and I didn't see it. And so I called Eric about it because kids were coming out. Kids were going to be coming out of school shortly. And that's a real, a lot of times parents park on the street and the kids run across from the schoolyard. So luckily he was able to help in that area, but it was the responsibility of the contractor, Genco. If I'm saying to notify him. So when it first happened, after I talked to Eric, I spoke with the principal, and he didn't have any knowledge of that street being used as a U-turn, because that's what it actually is okay to do it. And no one knew it. No one in administration building, no one at Grant School, and I mean those are properties that are directly affected by it. So I was glad for Eric's quick action, but that contractor. There should have been notification that the street was becoming two-way, and then there needed to be some signage, and there needed to be notification, especially to the school. There's nothing else to school. You know what I mean? Everybody know I'm school. So I want to thank Eric for what he was able to do. It was little, but it was something. I was able to compare to the school. The other thing I actually want to give to my colleagues is about a program. It's a lifesaver bracelet that is free from the prosecutor's office, and it's for elderly folks who suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia. And I'm going to be working with Callan School to co-host some informational sessions at the senior citizen centers because it's very important. You know, just a week or so ago, there was a woman off of, I believe, Humboldt. Yes, I got called. And so these bracelets really do save lives. They help, you find these senior citizens because they wander around and stuff like that. And it was of particular interest to me because that's something that my mother suffered from a little bit of dementia. And she was confused. She never was really left alone to wander off or anything, but hey, you think missing a kid is bad, start missing your mom. Oh, yeah. Lose place of your dad or your parent. And so I just wanted to make sure all my colleagues have it so that you can share it when you're out doing community meetings, that this service is free and available for caregivers and whatnot, in mental situations. Okay. I just thought that was really cool. Okay. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Lofty, yes, sir.
Just very briefly, Council wanted me to address the issue of the controversial executive session that was held regarding the appointment of the municipal clerk.
Excuse me, Mr. Lateef, with regards to your request, I'm sorry, my apologies.
A resolution was voted on to enter that executive session. That's my recollection, and I confirmed that with the clerk's office that there was a resolution that was adopted. Immediately after the resolution was adopted, I was asked to leave. I was told that there was going to be an executive session regarding the appointment of the clerk, and that the council didn't want me present, which I thought was unusual because I normally am present in the executive sessions. However, I was not here, so I can't comment on what was said in the executive session or what was not said. That being said, I think it's important to note that when you go into executive session, you are limited to what you can discuss. However, there are related topics that are necessarily discussed with the topics that are being discussed in executive session, or it would be impossible to thoroughly discuss any subject. You can't say 10 words in executive session and then break the executive session, go out into a public session, and fill in some facts that could be made public, and then go back into executive session. So necessarily, there are things that are discussed in executive session that are related to the proper subjects for an executive session. I'm not saying that what was discussed that evening was correct or incorrect. I'm just saying it's not an absolute bar that anything else be discussed when you're in the executive session. Taking it a step further, the release of the tape was incorrect. I said that before, and I'll say it again. I've discussed it with Councilman Costa privately. even if the information on that tape should have been made public at some point in time, it's necessary for council to formally adopt a resolution or a motion that says the information may now be made public, unless by resolution, at the time you adopt the executive session, you say that it may be made public on a certain date. So, I believe Mr. Costin understands at this point in time that that was something that shouldn't have been done. I doubt that he did that with any malice, but, it was a mistake that was made. And unless there's some questions, I will conduct a workshop on the executive session at some point in the future whenever you decide to have me do it. But if you have any specific questions on that issue.
Mr. Moore, Mr.
I have a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
You said that, well, we've had some discussion, we even received some correspondence that said that an individual had spoken to an attorney and found out that legally there were no violations. Now, I want to recap what you said.
Legally, there were no violations.
There was no violation in the release of that tape. And so, what I'd like to ask is...
Well, I believe the documents that were submitted with that letter, in and of themselves, say, I believe I have it with me. In fact, the copy I have, it was even highlighted. It's discussing a specific Supreme Court case, and it says, in this case, the media seek to copy and publish audio tape of a public body's executive sessions, during which personnel matters were discussed. We hold that the media representatives are entitled to access such records of official public action, subject before disclosure to the removal of any confidential or privileged information. So no one had listened to that tape to see if there was any confidential or privileged information. So just right there, it shouldn't have been released. Forget anything else.
Okay, then
And that's in the documents that were submitted with the letter. I didn't have to do any research for it.
I agree that I don't think Mr. Costin acted with any malice, but I think that one thing Mr. Costin might benefit from, if I may, Mr. Costin, is some more training as it relates to these types of things, because we ask frequently. And although, unfortunately, there's no training manual for counsel, I think that typically when people come on counsel, unless they sat around for a while, like Mr. Clark and now Mr. Harrison and a few other folks, it's difficult to understand what happens regularly in counsel, because there is no manual. We have the Faulkner law that directs you in one manner, and because we're nonpartisan, we're not, the Hatch Act doesn't apply to us, because we're hatched in a lot of ways, but it's often difficult to understand what counsel is and what it does and what the rights and responsibilities of it is. So I'm recommending, again, as I did initially, that we have a workshop that details the executive session, how they work, what they require, and then there should be some procedure. See, that's the other thing. We lack procedures in a lot of areas. And in some areas, quite frankly, they wouldn't... They wouldn't work, and we wouldn't be able to use them because of the laws. But I think that there comes a time when new folks come on counsel and have been on counsel for a year, that we give them an opportunity of some sort of training. How that would happen, I don't know. I'm just making that recommendation because I think Mr. Council may be new almost in its entirety for the next term, and it's something that needs to be looked at.
I'm willing to do a workshop at any time.
I think the executive session piece is important because here we have again a hot topic that we've discussed publicly. Now, you know and I know, as much as the public might not understand it or want it, that at some point, that's going to become an executive session because there's a lot of things that we need to discuss to get to the heart of the issue that we're not going to be able to discuss. I'd also like to recommend, Mr. President, while we're at this, because it deals with executive sessions, and then I'm going to close that out, and that is before, I wanted to be at the point where we were tonight, because then it becomes a battle of wills instead of a battle of common sense. And the bottom line is, there are some things that we need to examine. And if you just set the pace for that, Mr. President, and schedule some of these things, that would help a great deal as well, because a lot of stuff happens out of ignorance. And I don't mean that in a, a negative way. A lot of things happen out of sheer ignorance. And so we can help each other. I said before that we spend so much time trying to prove what individuals we are, but I guarantee you, when you get to the public, except for a select few, what's going to happen is they're going to ask you what you did and what you accomplished. And that's all that's going to matter. You understand? Whether Gino won the fight, Costa won the fight, or anybody else won the fight, it's not going to matter. They put us here to do some work, and I'd like to recommend that we do it, and do it in a way that is totally transparent, as we have in the past, but make things a little bit simpler. We need to do more PFAs. We need to involve people more in understanding how council works. People actually think that this council runs administration. They really believe that. The authority that this council has begins with the budget. And the sooner we understand that, the better. And the more we work together, to move projects forward, the more we're going to accomplish. I don't think we benefit by anything that happened tonight, with the exception that we got a date set, and if the date had been asked for and pushed, it could have happened a lot earlier. See, there was no big accomplishment tonight. It's not necessary, and we need to do everything we can to avoid situations like this. I was elected to represent the people in the West Ward, and although that's very parochial thinking, I've gone a little bit more globally, and I understand my colleague in the North has issues with policing, and in the South, and in the East, and at-large, who partner with us here, the very same issues. Nobody wants any more than the other council person wants. In terms of accomplishment, I want more police. But there are a lot of people in my ward who say, you raise my taxes and I'll kill you. You understand? So they need to understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. Policing is a priority. Restoring, these homes and putting them back on a tax base is another priority. Because as I talk about restoring public safety, I better talk about where the money's going to come from. If we're going to be realistic, we need to look at all of the budget. The state is getting ready to smack us around in a way that you don't even understand as it relates to budget because of the funding issue. These things are important, and we have to take a look at it. Everybody wants the same thing, and that's better services, improved services to the constituency base that they represent. But if you want to be real and be relevant about what we do, we represent everybody in the city, all of us. When we sit at this table, we need to start behaving as such. And that's just my position, Mr. President. But we need a workshop on that and how we can strengthen some things. So we need to be moving in directions of strengthening indecent exposure law. We're going to get to that, too. Strengthening the abandoned property issue. The land and so, you need to know, we got to go to the state to get some of this stuff done. We got to get off this fruitcake mission. I'm sick of it. And I'm sorry that, I'm running my mouth, but I'm just tired of this nonsense. Every week, one thing after another, one battle after another, as if we don't all represent the people. Stop it already. I want to say that Mr. Loftus mentioned to us regarding the tape. And I would say to you, yes, while new council members can always use a refresher and do's and don'ts, I would submit that if a council member asks for a tape, it would be for their own use. Council members are not a clearinghouse for information to residents with regards to tapes. That's why we have Oprah in place. That's why we have the staff in the city clerk's office. If anyone, if the general public wants to request information, then the proper step is to go to the city clerk's office, not to call a council person to get a tape. And I would say that the only reason that Mr. Cochran was able to get a tape that quickly from council was because he was the council person. Or had he gone through the proper channels, he would have taken it in because there would have been for review and had been checked for sensitive information or released. So I don't think that particularly required any training. I think that was just a, one of those, I think that was just a rush to get something done quickly to make a point, and it just, that's how I feel about that. That's how I feel about that particular issue. I don't think it was anything but what it was, and while we may certainly have a need for training, that particular incident was what it was, exactly what it was, and it wasn't from a lack of training. So, beyond that.
And with regards to training, there's training available through the municipality, the brochures for all new members. That folks are encouraged to take. If not, you just get the booklet and the information that they have right here in the city of Trenton with regards to newly elected officials, budgets, executive sessions, all that stuff is a part of the program that we pay taxes. Our duties go to that, of course, that information, that collection of information is a clearinghouse for us.
The only thing I ask, Mr. President, is, and I'm going to piggyback off what Annette said, as I requested 4 times the information for Mr. Clark, as I requested probably 3 or 4 times after a new scheduled date for the director, that our workshop not wait after 2 or 3 or 4 requests from the council for this. And this evening I also want to thank legal for the individual on Bird Avenue, dating back 3 years ago, 2 written requests from myself, 2 written requests from her attorney, finally getting a response on October the 11th. So I just received that you responded that you will repair the driveway, which...
No, she had to tell that already. It's just, and the key from my office did speak to the lawyer a month ago.
Right,
But it was
okay.
just coordinating.
Right, because the correspondence that I gave Mr. Locke in your absence last week stated that he received no correspondence, and that was dated...
It did indicate that he had spoken to Ms. Dia.
That was dated October the 4th, so...
But it did indicate in the letter that he spoke to Ms. Dia.
So I just want to say thank you. I mean, I think 4 years for 1 curb cut is a little extensive, and 2 written requests to the office of the Mayor's Office, Citizen Concern, CC to Renee, and also to, the Chief of Staff, and also to the Department of Inspections is a little extensive. 4 years is a little too long for a curb cut. And again, 4 requests for dates and so on and so forth is a little ridiculous. So if we could also get the workshop prior to a 2nd or 3rd or 4th request.
Anything else? Anything else, Mr.
That's it, Mr.
So, Jay, next Tuesday you'll have information for us with regards to police staffing and information with regards to...
Also, Director Kevin for the requests that were made dating back about 3 months ago.
If you remember, Mr. Malone, if you can, if you remember as well, if you can type that number down.
Yeah, Linda's going to forward it over.
So we'll do police staffing next week, and Mr. Lockwood said that we also be available next week for a presentation on the executive session and the procedure. Just 2 points of information. Next Thursday is the State of the City Adjuster. Once you receive an invitation within their packet, we'll have this discussion a little bit further as we move into the next month, which is the 13th through the 17th with the major municipalities. Government sales accordingly, we'll talk about that as well, and certainly make sure any information that you need in the clerk's office in terms of the accommodation taken care of. If anyone gets a chance, we are in a small business week. Participate in any of the functions that are taking place throughout the city. The schedule will be noted, and Mr. Please note and remind everyone that Thursday's regular public meetings at Washington School. Thank you, Mr. Please.
No, Mr. President, I knew that.
Thank you very much for reminding me the meeting at Washington School Thursday and Friday. Okay. No other information at this time. Yes, sir. Your second.
I knew that.
All right, all in favor?